I worked the overnight shift at a self-storage facility just outside Boise, Idaho. People rented units there to store furniture, old family photos, business inventory, pretty much anything. Most nights, I'd never see a single customer after midnight. Then one man showed up asking to get into a unit that had been empty for over 6 months. I was 26 at the time and had been working there for about 4 months. The job was easy. Watch the security cameras. Answer the phone. Drive around the property every hour. If someone needed access after hours, I'd verify their code and make sure they left before the front gate locked at 2 a.m. That Thursday started like every other shift. Cold. Quiet. Nothing unusual. Around 11:30 p.m., a gray pickup pulled up to the front gate. A man got out and walked into the office. He looked tired. Late 40s maybe. Wearing a dark hoodie and a baseball cap. He didn't even say hello. I need into Unit C214. I typed the number into the computer. Nothing came up. I tried again. Still nothing. Sorry, I said. I don't have a C214. He frowned. I've rented it for years. I turned the monitor toward him. The last unit in Building C is C206. He stared at the screen for several seconds. Then he quietly said, "No, it was C214. I figured he had the wrong facility. It happened all the time." I asked if he had an old receipt or rental agreement. He reached into his jacket, then suddenly stopped. His eyes slowly moved past me, toward the wall of security monitors. I turned around. Every camera looked normal. Empty hallways, locked storage units, nothing moving. When I looked back, the man was still staring at the screens, almost like he'd seen someone. "You okay?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he pointed at one monitor. Building C. Hallway camera 3. Someone just walked past my door. I looked at the screen again. Nothing. I didn't see anybody. I did. His voice was almost a whisper. He does that every night. I honestly didn't know what to say. After a few awkward seconds, he apologized for wasting my time. Then he walked out. I watched him get back into his truck. He sat there for nearly a minute before driving away. Weird. But not the weirdest customer I dealt with. I went back to watching the cameras. Around 12:15 a.m., the office phone rang. North Valley Storage. Silence. Then I came back. It was the same man. I looked outside. His truck wasn't there. "Sir?" I parked across the road. His breathing sounded shaky. I wanted to see if I was imagining things. I sat up. What happened? I saw him again. Who? The man standing outside my unit. Every hair on my arm stood up. "There isn't a Unit C214, I reminded him. "I know what your computer says. But I know where my unit is." The call ended. No goodbye. Nothing. Just silence. I waited a few seconds, then opened the live camera feed for Building C. The hallway was empty. At least, I thought it was. Something caught my eye. At the very end of the hallway, one of the motion lights was on. It shouldn't have been. Those lights only turned on when someone walked underneath them. I zoomed in. Nothing. The hallway looked empty. Then, the light switched off. The next one turned on. Then another. Then another. Like someone was slowly walking down the hallway. Except, there was nobody there. I kept watching. The lights continued turning on, one after another, getting closer to the camera. Closer. Closer. Then they suddenly stopped. right outside the camera's view. I grabbed my flashlight and radio. Probably a sensor malfunction. That's what I kept telling myself. 5 minutes later, I unlocked Building C. The motion lights flickered on above me. The hallway was completely empty. Every storage unit was locked. No voices. No footsteps. No movement. I walked to the end of the hallway where the last unit, C206, sat alone. There was nothing beyond it. Just a blank concrete wall. I stood there for a few seconds before turning back. That's when I heard it. Clang. The unmistakable sound of a metal storage door rolling open. It came from behind me. I spun around. The hallway was empty. Every door was still closed. Then, very softly, a man's voice echoed from somewhere beyond the concrete wall. "Can somebody let me out?" I didn't move. The voice had been quiet, almost exhausted, like someone had been trapped for a long time. I aimed my flashlight at the concrete wall. There was nothing there. No doorway. No hidden passage. Just solid concrete. I waited. Hello? No answer. After another minute, I convinced myself I'd imagined it. The building was old. Maybe the sound had traveled through the pipes. I walked back to the office and finished my shift without another incident. But the next night, the man came back. This time he was waiting outside before I even unlocked the front door. He looked worse. His eyes were bloodshot, like he hadn't slept. The second I stepped out of my truck, he asked, "Did you hear him?" I didn't answer. "You heard him, didn't you?" I finally nodded. "I heard something." He looked down at the ground. I knew I wasn't crazy. Before I could ask another question, he reached into his pocket and handed me an old brass key. It was scratched and badly worn. My unit key. I looked at it. Stamped into the metal were 4 numbers. 214. "I don't want it anymore," he said. "If he asks for it, don't give it back." He turned around, got into his truck, and drove away. That was the last time I ever saw him. Around 1:10 a.m., I checked the security cameras. Everything looked normal, until one monitor flashed black. When the picture returned, someone was standing at the end of Building C. I immediately zoomed in. A man, too far away to see his face. He wasn't moving, just standing there. I grabbed my radio. Security check, Building C. No response. I looked back at the monitor. The hallway was empty. The man was gone. I headed straight for Building C. The moment I walked inside, the motion lights came on, one after another, exactly like the night before. Only this time, they stopped halfway down the hallway, like someone was standing there, waiting. I slowly walked forward. The lights stayed on, but there was nobody underneath them. Then, clang. A metal door rolled open, not behind me, in front of me, at the very end of the hallway, where the concrete wall should have been. I raised my flashlight. For 1 second, there was a storage unit there. Rusted. The number on the door read 214. I blinked. It was still there. The door was half open, dark inside. Against every bit of common sense, I walked toward it. The hallway suddenly felt colder. The air smelled damp, like a basement that had been sealed for years. I stopped a few feet from the entrance. "Is somebody in there?" Silence. Then the same tired voice answered. "Please? I can't get out." I gripped my flashlight tighter. "Who are you?" No reply. I took one more step and shined my light inside. The unit was almost empty. Just a broken chair, a few cardboard boxes, and a man sitting on the floor with his head lowered. He looked exactly like the customer from the night before. Same hoodie, same cap, same build. Relieved, I said, "Sir, I've been looking for you." He didn't move. "Sir?" Still nothing. I stepped closer, maybe 10 feet away. That's when he slowly raised his head. It wasn't the customer. I'd never seen this man before. His face was pale. His eyes were completely black from the shadows. But he was smiling. The slow, unnatural smile. Then he spoke. "You're early." Every light in the hallway went out. My flashlight died. The storage door slammed shut behind me. I stumbled backward trying to find the handle. Nothing. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely think. Then, another voice came from the darkness. The customer's voice. Right beside my ear. "Don't let him leave." I spun around. Nobody. The flashlight flickered back on for half a second. The room was empty. No smiling man. No chair. Nothing. Only dust. The storage door suddenly rolled open by itself. I didn't wait. I ran. I don't even remember reaching the office. I locked every door and called my manager. He arrived 20 minutes later. We searched Building C together. There was no Unit 214, just the same concrete wall. He thought stress had gotten to me. Honestly, I started believing that too. Until the following Monday. The facility owner called every employee into the office. He told us construction crews had discovered old building plans from the 1980s. Originally, Building C had been longer. There had been 8 more storage units, including Unit 214. Years before I was hired, a structural collapse had sealed that entire section behind a concrete wall. The units were never reopened. The owner laughed and said, "Good thing nobody was renting them." I forced myself to laugh too. Then I remembered the brass key. It was still in my jacket pocket. I reached inside. It was gone. I never found it again. I quit that same week. Sometimes I still wonder who that customer really was. But one thing bothers me more than anything else. If Unit 214 was sealed decades ago, who was calling the office phone? From inside it?